Welcome to Mainstream with Harpreet Toor. आप सबको प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब and shalom. Well, you know, I always debate about what to talk and what not to discuss and what is more important, because it's not easy to prioritize when you have such a small window and you want to talk about the issues from two perspectives. One, that issue is out there. And number two, you want your viewers to understand the issue the way they should first hear, and after that they should come to a conclusion based on some facts which I want them to check out on their own. And you can always get in touch with me, either calling on the show, the number is there, and or you can email me at justour@gmail.com. And you can actually, you know, tune in every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. for this live show, and you can interact with me directly about the issues which I discuss and the things which you think are important. Remember, on this show we talk about not just politics, but also the things which affect us directly or indirectly. So today, when I was earlier thinking about what is most important, depending on the group of the people you belong to, the community you belong to, it's not easy task to differentiate. But I'm going to talk about certain things here today. First, I'm going to start again. You know, this past Saturday we had a Sikh Day parade in Manhattan. The people who participated in it, it was really drenching rain. The staff from JUS Punjabi studio, they were all out there in rain, and they were all drenched. I was out there. I was also drenched like other people, and but still you can see there were people out there who wanted to attend the parade irrespective of the weather. I'm involved in this parade even before the beginning of this parade, the very first parade when it was planned and organized. It was actually a long parade. It was from 40th Street on Broadway all the way to 14th Street, going on Broadway, and then it was slowly but surely then it was cut down to 23rd Street. Then it was moved from Broadway to Madison Avenue, and for last couple of years it is on Madison Avenue. Starts at 39th Street. We gather at 39 40 Street, 38, 39, 40 Street, and we march down to 26th Street, and the park between 26th and 23rd is used, and that whole area is closed down for that day on the Saturday. But still, it was I got to admire the people, and I also got to say thanks to the people who actually were still knowing that it's going to rain like crazy, but they worked in the evenings throughout the day and late in the evening to prepare the meals and the food to be distributed. And there is one thing, you know, which I would like to share here about the parade. Somehow the importance, yes, food is very important aspect and part of this parade, but we should not forget that this parade, actually we started this parade with a couple of things in our mind. What we wanted we wanted the parade as a way of showing our cultures and who we are. We used to have the Bhangra and Gidda also, that was also part of the parade. But down the road, you know, some people in some of the administrations, they cut it down because they were complaining, oh, there are people who come in drunk or they drink on the parade, this and that. Listen, we cannot make everybody happy, but we should not be taking the part of our culture out of the parade. That has been my thinking from day one, and I stood by it when they were taking out, and I stand by that even today, that they should not take it out at all. So having said that, again, those people who were at the parade, congratulations to them, and thanks to the people who did all the preparatory work, including the various administrations, including the Sikh Culture Society, which is the main society which hosts this parade, and we will have some other parades in the neighborhoods also. So next is, there is a very interesting thing going on which also very much affects the Punjabi community, the Sikh community. It is about Amritpal Singh. You know, there is an effort going on among the young kids using the social media to brainwash them about the activities of Amritpal Singh. I don't have all the details on him, but there is one thing which I know, that anybody who comes to that much prominence within a very short time, there has to be something behind it. It just cannot be a coincidence. And then government says they arrested him. He says that he surrendered, and it was at Rode, which is actually some Jarnail Singh Pindrawale's place. And he was at that Gurdwara, which means basically to me, he was always there. Government knew it and government put him there. They just wanted the Vaisakhi period pass by peacefully in Punjab. Yes, Punjab is a border state. We have seen a lot of conflicts. The wars on the Punjab have always been a big issue, whether it was pre-partition Punjab when we had the wars coming from the west side, or post-partition Punjab where again the war was between Pakistan and India. And I have literally seen the devastation personally, so I know exactly what it is. And one thing which I just could not understand is, when these on social media they talk about that Amritpal Singh was just preaching Amrit Prachar and working against the drugs. I give it to him. But why would he need armed bodyguards to do that? Why you need armed bodyguards to do the Amrit Prachar? I have never seen those kind of things. Unless there is another motive behind the whole scenario, whatever you are planning to do. And that is something which I will request the viewers, whether those are Punjabi Sikh viewers or non-Punjabi Sikh viewers, that they have to give it time for the whole thing to sort out. Because I personally will say one thing, that at this point, the central government in India is not interested in solving the Punjab issue one way or the other. And I will give you an example for that. And I'm not making it up. The facts can be checked. When the farmers' protest was going on, the government did everything within their control which they could to make it as a Khalistani terrorist activity. Thanks to the farmers and the farmer leaders from the other states who actually came and joined to blunt the central government's propaganda on this. And thanks to the smart phones and the media, social media, that every activity was being recorded by the phones and being broadcasted live. Now that question brings down another question. Government takes down your communication things, because in India government is the person which actually controls everything, even though private companies are given, like Reliance is given the 5G, and some other 4G or whatever they have there, and some of the places even do not have 2G capability yet. But the government can shut it down, which means basically the gag orders to shut you out. And that is something which is again very dangerous. Why? Because you do not have the access to share what you are saying or what you plan, what is happening there on the ground. And that actually can create more confusion and more conflict within the societies. And we, at this point, we don't need that. And that brings down another aspect, and that is the freedom of press, freedom of speech, and the freedom of expression. That is also something which we need to talk about. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people, they talk closely behind the closed door or quietly. They are afraid of certain things, but the facts are the facts, and facts should not be ignored, because we are actually moving into that era where the facts are twisted. Like when the former president Donald Trump, he became the president, he took the oath, and the pictures from that the mall in Washington DC, which showed empty spaces, and Kellyanne Conway at that point, he said the alternate truth. There are no alternate truths. Facts are facts. The other side of the picture is always what you try to create. The picture is the front, what you see or what you should be looking at or what you look at. Everything else is created, whether it's fake or whatever the systems are available out there. And that is something which can be very challenging to, if it is challenging to a person who is well literate, just imagine how challenging it could be for the people who actually live in the countryside. Even here in big cities, we have issues with that. And that is something which also we need to take a look at. And we are going to discuss also that aspect of conversation when we come back after the break. Let's take a break, and then we'll continue with our mainstream conversation. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Toor. Again, reach out with your suggestions or anything. You can email at hstour@gmail.com, or you can call and be part of the conversation for the show. Continuing on what we were talking about before I walk into those smartphone and the alternate facts and everything, there are two things which I want to share with you. One is the US government just came out with a report on religious freedom on different countries, and India is on the watch list, and Ministry of External Affairs has rejected it. And when they rejected it, of course it is understandable. It's the government's how should I say, ideological mouthpiece to put out what the government wants to put it out. And but on the other hand, we have this BJP MP Subramaniam Swamy, who actually literally says that the Muslims are not even equal intellectually and human wise to Hindus. Okay, so that is something which is very troubling. And also, of course, we have our own issues. The Sikhs have their own issues, and the delusion of the institutions within the Sikh community, the Akali Dal and SGPC, it has been a significant delusion of those institutions being run by a single family, directly or indirectly. So even though there is a saying going on that they are trying to say on the BJP side that we don't want single family, but RSS for me is a single family, because that's the fountain from where everything flows to different branches. And the person right now, it is Mr. Bhagwat, who is sitting there, Bhagwat Sahab utte baithe hai, and they actually direct the government, they control the government, they control the strings of the government, if I may say so. So the statement which came out from Ministry of External Affairs, Arindam Bagchi said the Commission continues to continues with such comments that India rejects the misrepresentation of facts, which only serves to discredit USCIRF itself, which is United States report on religious freedom. I think it stands for United States Center on International Religious Freedom. And yes, that's what it is. U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom continues to biased and motivated comments about India this time. In its 2023 annual report, he said, we reject such misrepresentation of facts which only serves to discredit USCIRF itself. So that is something, I wanted you to know that there are still the organizations which actually look at all these things happening. And that is something, which also brings me to another fact. On the weekend, this Sunday, which was day 4 yesterday, I'm sorry, I was at this place, one of the temple, Emmanuel Temple of Great Neck, which is a Jewish synagogue. And over there, I met Mehdi Hassan for the book release. You can read it here, the title of the book. And I was listening to him, and I read a little bit part of the book. I haven't read the book yet. But the conversation the issues which he discussed and the things which he talked about, I also talk about it. I try to talk about it a little bit, but not to the extent which he does. There is a reason that why he's sitting at MSNBC and he is in the prime time Sunday from 8 to 9 show. He talked about that how the facts are facts, and when you go out there as a reporter or as a commentator or a person like me who is doing a show, stick to the facts. They may be hurtful, but stick to it. Because ultimately, what happens is, sooner or later, facts are going to come out. So, it's I'm just trying to think how to put it out. When Kellyanne Conway, she said that alternate facts, how you can be so brash about putting out the wrong information openly. And there are people who challenge, and there are people who just take advantage of that. On Fox News, when the election was being contested, Trump and his attorney Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, they were putting out all these lies out there. They got rejected by every judge. Even the judges who were appointed by the former President Donald Trump, they rejected everything because they were not putting out any facts, because there were no facts. Even his own attorney general, who actually worked as his soldier literally told him that, Mr. President, I don't see any fraud. But those frauds stuck in the minds of the people who were the followers of him, and they resulted in January 6th attack on the Capitol, which was the worst attack probably since the independence of the United States from the Britishers. So when you twist or somebody twists the facts, those facts can be really hurtful, and they can destroy the people's life. As we know, some of the people did, either they committed suicide or they lost otherwise their lives, or some of them are behind the bars for those alternate facts. So we have to be very careful about what we are talking about. So it is about time to take another break. After the break, we are going to talk about how the technology which is coming up can be used to make you believe on something which actually is not there. That is really scary part of the artificial intelligence, and Microsoft already have rolled out. Google is working on it, and there is an advanced version of it out there, and I don't know where it will stop, but let's take a break, and after the break we'll discuss how it can make us sit back and take the non-facts as facts, and facts can be something totally different than the actual facts, right after the break. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Toor. I was talking about artificial intelligence, where we are today. Nobody really thought of all these issues which now are coming up. Then again, when originally the Apple came out with the iPhone, I think it was in 2005, nobody thought of all the things which we are looking at it right now, that we will have this small device in our hand and we will have the answers for everything. So what is happening, what actually is, there are two things which I want to clear here first. One is that there is a computing and there is quantum computing. Quantum computing is basically where a lot of different in layman's term, because I'm not a teacher, I'm not a professor, so I'm just going to put it down the way I understand, and maybe you can also understand that. Quantum computing is where you have the equations doing the search, doing the calculations, multiple calculations at the same time, so that if a single computer takes to come up with the answer, let us say in about a year, with quantum computing you can have that result within a couple of seconds. So that's what quantum computing is. Now that quantum computing actually has given way to a part of it is being used for artificial intelligence. Now, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence, of course, is the intelligence which is not the human intelligence, but intelligence of the machines. And like in manufacturing, in driving, the machines are taking over everything. You know, you can buy a car, self-driving car, and that car you put in the destination from point A to point B, and the car will drive itself from point A to point B. And some of the cars are already running on the streets in San Francisco, in New York, and maybe in LA also, in big cities, maybe Chicago. Not for the people to use it as a open cab yet maybe, but as a test. And they are actually collecting the data, and that data is crunched in such a short time, and the instructions go out to that machine which controls the car. Same way, artificial intelligence is being used for different reasons. There is a chat GPT which came out, and you can download it on your smartphone, and you can pay, I think there is a monthly fee for that, to use it for unlimited time or unlimited times to dig out some information. And in that chat GPT, for example, you just put up my name, Harpreet Toor, do the search. It is going to go out there, wherever this data is floating, try to dig out all the information, which information it can collect on Harpreet, on me, and put it on the screen for you. Now, where the danger comes in, the danger actually comes in where there is a good information about me, there is a bad information about me. Some information which I put it out, some information which media put it out, and some information which actually somebody who is opposed to me will put it out. So this artificial intelligence is going to pull out all that information and put it in a way where it will not only contain the right information but also the wrong information in there. And unless you verify that information with an actual human or cross-reference it personally with some other sources, there's no way for you to find out whether it's right or wrong. So the godfather of artificial intelligence at Google, he actually left. Geoffrey Hinton, he was working on it for close to based on the article, for about 50 years first, and since web browser came out in 1990s, it is more out there, because last week was the week when or 30 years ago, when first time, the search engine went on with the AOL, America Online, and you had your emails and everything. I had mine also at that time, hstoor@aol.com, which I even don't have now. I honestly, I even don't know if I have the access to that or not, or if somebody else has it, or if it is out there, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, so this artificial intelligence actually collects that data, puts it out to you on the screen, and you use that information to deliver to the viewers, share it with the viewers, or some of the people you are talking to. And what happens then? That information is assumed to be the facts, which may not be the facts, which may be the alternate facts, like Kellyanne Conway said it. So now we are at that point where you may be looking at me talking, speaking, but the words coming out from my mouth with my sound, the artificial intelligence is so close that it can mimic my way of speaking, my accent, and then it can put it out, the words from my mouth which I never said, never used. And how that will affect the future of the elections or anything else, that is something which scary. We have presidential election coming up next year in 2024, and I'm already concerned about it, that how much what I will see in the ad or on the news is going to be the actual words which were said by the opposition candidate, and how much is there which is actually not from the opposition candidate, but somebody made it up and put it out, and social media. And then on top of that, let's not forget, the other countries, they have their own interest in US elections. Remember when Prime Minister Modi came to United States and he endorsed Donald Trump? Technically, legally, he cannot do that, but he did it without any consequence. So just imagine that the people sitting behind on the screens on the computer, they are doing all this from the back door to give you the information, because they already know who is out there, what websites you visit. Algorithm is used in such a way which you can see. If you do a search on, let us say, on a shirt or on a cologne or perfume or a pair of shoes, you do a search on a sneaker and you go to, let us say, Dick's Sporting Goods for that, for next couple of days, unless you go to something else, you will, whenever you will pop up your screen to do any search, you will definitely see on the right side or the left side where Dick's Sporting Goods ad will be there running along. Or whatever you're looking at, somebody who is trying to sell you the product, that person's ad is running left or right. And now artificial intelligence is going to make it so much close to make you look like the facts, and you will believe those facts as a human, assuming that, okay, if this thing is being shown on 3, 4, 5 different websites, it has to be true. So we have, based on the political aspect on the ground in the world, US presidential election, and we have Iran, we have Russia, we have China, we have South Korea. And they have their teams like every other nation, including United States actually has its own team of hackers, which does the same thing in other countries. And other countries have their own teams doing to other countries, depending on which country is their friend and which country is foe. So just imagine that how consequential these things could be. For example, I'm just going to use it as an example. Whatever the policies are, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, Ukraine war. Russia was the guarantor of the border of Ukraine at the breakup of Russia, and when they took out the nuclear weapons and gave a guarantee to Ukraine that your borders will be protected. Then Russia attacked Ukraine. Russia actually, when attacked Ukraine, Russia was planning that even the West world, within 3 or 4 days, the whole country will be gone. That didn't happen. We are already more than a year and 2 months. We are already 15th month of the war, and it is literally at a standstill right now. There are small gains every inch, every foot, but the war is still going on. So we had President Trump who liked Putin. Right now we have President Biden who doesn't like the Putin or policies. Let me correct myself. President Trump liked Putin's policies. President Biden does not like Putin's policies. So just imagine that the way Joe Biden put the whole NATO together against Russia to help Ukraine. Had it been Donald Trump, it would have been a totally different picture. Now go to next step. Now just imagine that if those artificial intelligence and those chatbots, chat GPT and all these things, they come out and they help the former president to become the next president of the United States. Just imagine the consequences of it. So we are going into that territory with artificial intelligence, and that is what he's talking about when Dr. Hinton talked about it. And he literally is saying that, he doesn't know. He's saying it is hard to see how you can prevent the bad actors from using it for bad things. I'm quoting what he said. Exactly. And also there were actually more than 1,000 technology leaders and researchers and pundits who were working on artificial intelligence, and they were talking about that's how it can affect the future and everything else. Let us take a break, and after the break we will continue that how it can affect your and our lives down the road and our kids' lives right after the break. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Toor again. We are actually walking into the final chapter of today's show. And I am still going to continue to talk about artificial intelligence because this is very important. It's not that today is the last time I'm talking about it. I will be talking about it down the road. You can always write an email and ask me questions or share your thoughts with me, or anything which you want me to talk about. Please, you can email me. जद भी तुसीं कोई भी थोड़ा सवाल हैगा चाहे मेरे प्रोग्राम दे उत्ते आ चाहे अदरवाइज प्लीज़ ईमेल करो मैनू भेजो, एंड आई विल बी मोर दैन हैप्पी टू आंसर एंड डिस्कस. और एक चीज़ दी मैं थानू इत्थे श्योरिटी दिना कि मैनू वो जिहड़ा क्रिटिसिज्म है चंगा लगे ना लगे, इत्थे जरूर शेयर किया जाऊगा कि दिस इज़ वट वॉज सैड. आह गल मैनू कही गई है, आह गल मैनू सुजैसट की गई है, एंड इफ आई एम रॉन्ग समवेयर आई विल मोर दैन हैप्पी टू एक्सेप्ट दैट. So before I go back to Mehdi Hassan's book and 2-3 things which he talked about in the book, I want to still talk about it. Dr. Geoffrey Hilton, along with Jan Lee Kun and Dr. Bengio, they spent more than close to 40 years developing the technology, which actually is called GPT-4. In 2018, they received the Turing Award, which is actually which is basically equal to Nobel Prize for computing, or for neural work. That's what they call it. And I'm, looking at it, and this is what they said, and which is true. The system, again, it is that chat GPT which I'm talking about, the GPT-4, which is the next, and also Elon Musk is coming up his own artificial intelligence. That's another issue, that he took over the Twitter, saying that he will let the thoughts flow freely, but it is not happening freely because there is a restriction on who can be there, and some of the people already left, and there is a new system coming out, Blue Sky, and I'm also looking forward to that once it comes out, to use that. Well, anyway, so going back to ChatGPT, these systems can generate untruthful, biased, and otherwise toxic information. That's what I was talking about, that it could be incorrect information. And when we talk about it, disinformation, misinformation, that's what it is all about when it comes down to that. And that's where artificial intelligence cannot differentiate between the facts and the fictions and bring it up. And now, before we close, there is another thing which I want to talk about, that we know that United States is heading into a default unless the limit is raised. And that is something, the June 1st is the date which Yellen, the chair, has declared that the United States will run out of the money because overall the collection of the taxes is comparatively less this year as compared to previous years. But interestingly, the Democrats, before they handed over, there was a bill which was introduced by one of the Democratic leader, and that bill actually is already on the floor. It is coming out, and there needs to be a threshold of Democrats concede will be difficult to reach. The threshold is actually that if all the Democrats in the House plus about 5 or 6 Republicans sign on to that bill, then that bill will actually supersede what McCarthy said. And we know that President Joe Biden has called all the 4 leaders to meet, and which I think is going to take place sometime next week. Mr. McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the Democratic leader Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. All those 4 has been invited by President Joe Biden to talk about how to raise the debt ceiling. And interestingly, debt ceiling was never used as a leverage like this. Yes, the budget and the other issues were used, but not the debt ceiling. Hey, your guess is as good as my guess on that. And also on the other side, there is another bill actually in the Supreme Court about the religious freedom or religious liberty. And that bill actually is, somebody has put in a request for if the person doesn't want to work on Sundays, which he says as a Sabbath, I'm a Christian, I don't work on Sundays. I'm a Jew from sunset on Friday, observant Jew from sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. I don't turn on the lights, I don't do all that, whatever their religious requirements are. And he or she says, I don't want to work. And that is something which is on stake at that point. And also, the other thing which is going on right now is based on the reports which came out that how Clarence Thomas used this billionaire's resources to travel around the world and everything. That was another thing which became a hot issue in Judiciary Committee in the Senate. Interestingly, from the Senate Republican side, Senator Graham, he is talking about Ruth Ginsburg traveling from New York University's sponsorship. There is a difference that an institution is sponsoring somebody's trip and an individual who has his vested interest in the laws, how the laws are interpreted, doing that. That's my opinion. Okay? And also in Florida we have, which is interesting actually, the Florida governor DeSantis don't say gay bill, and that put him at odds with the Disney World. Disney World is actually using, there was a law which was passed by, which actually Supreme Court gave a green signal, Citizens United, that corporations can contribute to political campaigns, and Democrats always talked about it, that it is a free flow by the corporations to get the people elected and defeating the people on that part. And that is something which actually is very interesting read, because Citizens United actually is something which goes against DeSantis here. And also, I don't know how many people watched the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It was very interesting that the current president, the sitting president, Joe Biden, he made a couple of jokes. And also Joy, who was a comedian, he also made a couple of jokes. And how they make fun of each other and talk to each other in very light, humorous terms. That is like, you know, making a fun of somebody. Just imagine, there was one thing which Joe, I'm going to repeat here. He talked about that in France, they are trying to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64, and there are riots going on, there is strike, and everybody's out on the road. They do not want to work beyond 62 years of age. And here we have a president who is 80 years old, and he's begging for another 4 years for the job. He literally said that, which is really interesting. And at the end, you know, I'm going to talk about, again, about Mehdi Hasan's book. There is something very interesting he mentioned, which I personally, I believe even I'm part of that, I'm guilty of that. He said, we don't listen completely when the person is talking, which actually, on myself, I admit, I don't. And I will try to change that habit, because I think one of the things is because of my experience in life, I assume that what kind of question is coming out. Even though the question may be the same question which I am thinking it is, but I should not be cutting the person off for that. And that is something which I have to actually learn how to do it, and I promise I will start working on that. So till next time, good night and good luck.